The first note appeared on my kitchen counter on a Tuesday morning, written in my own handwriting. Check the basement. You left something important down there. I stared at the familiar loops and curves of my penmanship, my coffee growing cold in my trembling hands. I lived alone. I had lived alone for 3 years, ever since the divorce, and I couldn't remember writing any note. But there it was, unmistakably mine. The way I crossed my T's, the slight rightward slant, even the blue ink from the pen I kept by my phone. I crumpled it up and threw it away, chalking it up to stress from my new job at the accounting firm. The basement was empty except for storage boxes and the water heater's gentle hum. 3 days later, another note waited on my bathroom mirror. You're not remembering everything. The pills in your medicine cabinet. When did you start taking them? My blood ran cold. I yanked open the cabinet and found a prescription bottle I'd never seen before. Lorazepam. Prescribed to me, according to the label, by Dr. Helena Voss. I'd never heard of Dr. Voss. The prescription was dated 2 months ago. I called the pharmacy. They confirmed I'd been picking up this medication monthly, always paid in cash. The pharmacist even described me perfectly, down to the small scar on my left hand from a childhood accident. "Ma'am, you were just here yesterday," she said, confused by my confusion. I hung up and stared at the bottle. Half the pills were gone. That night, I set up my phone to record while I slept. I had to know what was happening to me. The next morning brought 2 revelations. First, another note on my kitchen table. You're getting closer to the truth. But be careful who you trust. Even doctors lie. Second, my phone was completely dead despite being plugged in all night. The charger had been unplugged. I drove to the address on the prescription bottle, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Dr. Helena Voss's office was in a rundown strip mall between a nail salon and a pizza place. The windows were covered with brown paper, and a small sign read, "By appointment only." I tried the door. Locked. "Can I help you?" A woman's voice behind me. I turned to see a tall woman with silver hair and kind eyes. She wore a doctor's coat over jeans. "Dr. Voss?" "That's me." "You look troubled, dear. Are you one of my patients?" I think so. But I don't remember. I found this." I showed her the prescription bottle. Her expression changed instantly. The kindness drained from her eyes, replaced by something that looked almost like fear. "Oh," she whispered. "Oh no. You shouldn't be here. Not during the day. Not when you're aware." "What do you mean, aware?" She fumbled with her keys, unlocking the door quickly. "Inside, now, before someone sees you." The office was sparse. Just a desk, 2 chairs, and filing cabinets. No medical equipment, no diplomas on the walls. Dr. Voss locked the door behind us and closed the blinds. "How much do you remember about the accident?" she asked. "What accident?" "The carbon monoxide leak. In your house. 3 months ago." My vision blurred. "There was no—" "You were unconscious for 4 days. When you woke up, you had severe memory issues. Gaps. Sometimes you'd lose hours, sometimes days. The lorazepam helps with the anxiety, but it also affects memory formation." "That's impossible. I would remember being in the hospital." "You weren't in a hospital." Dr. Voss sat heavily in her chair. "Your insurance had lapsed. You came to me because I work with difficult cases, cash only, no records. But the notes, you write them during your episodes, when you're not fully conscious but still mobile. It's called automatism. You discovered things about your condition and left messages for your conscious self to find." The room spun around me. "Show me proof." She opened a filing cabinet and pulled out a thick folder. Inside were dozens of notes in my handwriting, medical records, and photographs. Photos of me unconscious on a hospital gurney. Photos of my house with emergency vehicles outside. Photos of me in this very office looking completely blank and empty. In one photo, I was sitting at Dr. Voss's desk, writing intently. I looked up at the camera with eyes that seemed to look right through it. "This one was taken last week," Dr. Voss said softly. "You come here every few days during your episodes. You're very concerned about your conscious self. You want her, you, to know the truth. How many times have I been here? This is visit number 47. My legs gave out. I sank into the chair, staring at the evidence of a life I couldn't remember living. "The carbon monoxide damage is getting worse," Dr. Voss continued. "Your episodes are lasting longer. Yesterday you were here for 6 hours, writing detailed notes about your daily routine, trying to map out when you lose time." She handed me a notebook. My handwriting filled every page. Observations about my own behavior, times when I'd find food I didn't remember buying, clothes in the hamper I didn't remember wearing. Even detailed floor plans of my house with notes about which rooms I'd found disturbed. The final entry, dated yesterday, made my blood freeze. "I think someone else has been in the house. Things are moved in ways that don't match my episodes. Check the crawl space above the bedroom. I heard footsteps up there last night, but when I looked, I found evidence that someone has been living there. Food wrappers, blankets, a notebook full of observations about my daily routine written in different handwriting. I think someone has been watching me during my episodes, learning my patterns. I think they've been waiting for me to remember. I think they know I'm starting to remember. I think they're going to stop me from remembering. If you're reading this, get out of the house. Don't go back. They know you know." Dr. Voss watched my face as I read. "You left this here yesterday with strict instructions to give it to you if you ever came back during a conscious episode. Someone's been living in my house?" "According to your unconscious self, yes. For weeks." I stood up, my mind racing. "I have to go back. I have to see for myself." "Your other self was very clear about that. Under no circumstances should you return to that house." But I was already heading for the door. I had to know. I had to see this crawl space, had to find out who had been watching me, studying me, living above my bedroom while I went through my episodes. Dr. Voss filled with worries. "If you go back there, you might not come back as yourself. The stress could trigger a prolonged episode. You could lose yourself entirely. I'm already lost." I drove home in a daze, the notebook clutched in my passenger seat. My house looked normal from the outside. The same blue shutters, the same overgrown garden I kept meaning to tend. But as I approached the front door, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The spare key was missing from under the flower pot. Inside, everything looked exactly as I'd left it that morning. But now I was seeing it differently, looking for signs of disturbance, evidence of another presence. The kitchen chair was pulled out slightly from the table. The bathroom door was cracked open when I always kept it closed. The living room throw pillow was on the wrong end of the couch. I stood in my bedroom, staring up at the ceiling. There, nearly invisible unless you knew to look for it, was a small access panel to the crawl space above. I dragged a chair over and climbed up, my hands shaking as I pushed the panel aside. The smell hit me first, unwashed clothes and stale food. Then I saw the nest someone had made up there. Blankets, pillows, dozens of empty food containers, and notebooks, stacks and stacks of notebooks filled with observations about me. Subject sleeps 11:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. on conscious days. Episode triggered by stress. Lasted 6 hours. Subject cleaned entire house, organized closets, left note about missing pills. Subject becoming suspicious, may need to relocate or take more direct action. The handwriting wasn't mine. I heard the front door open downstairs. "Hello?" I called out, my voice cracking. "Who's there?" Footsteps on the stairs. Slow, deliberate. "I was wondering when you'd find my little hideaway," a voice called back. A woman's voice, eerily similar to my own, but with a different cadence. I scrambled down from the crawl space as a figure appeared in my bedroom doorway. She looked exactly like me, Same height, same build, same face. But her eyes were different. Cold. Calculating. "Who are you?" I whispered. She smiled, and it was like looking in a fun house mirror. "I'm you. Or rather, I'm who you used to be. Before the accident. Before the brain damage. Before you became this confused, fragmented version of yourself." "That's impossible." "Is it?" "You have episodes where you're not conscious but still mobile. Episodes where you do things you don't remember. What if those episodes aren't episodes at all? What if they're me?" My head spun. "You're saying you're my unconscious self. I'm saying I'm your real self. The carbon monoxide didn't just damage your brain. It split it. Created two versions of you. The conscious you, confused and scared and barely functional. And me. The version that remembers everything, that can think clearly, that's been trying to take care of you. By spying on me? By protecting you. Do you think it's a coincidence that you've been taking care of yourself these past 3 months? That your bills are paid, your house is clean, your refrigerator is stocked? That was me. During your episodes, I take over. I handle the things you can't. The notes, no, were my way of trying to communicate with you, to help you understand what was happening without frightening you too much. But you're getting suspicious, and that's making everything more difficult. I backed toward the bedroom door. This is insane. You're not me. You're someone else. Someone who's been living in my house, watching me. Look at me. She stepped closer. Really look. I did. The face was identical to mine, down to every freckle and line. But more than that, she moved like me, gestured like me. Even her voice, despite the different tone, had the same speech patterns. "The scar on your left hand," she said, holding up her own left hand. "From when you were 7, trying to open a can of cat food. You can't remember it because of the brain damage, but I do." She had the same scar. "Your first kiss was with Tommy Martinez behind the gym in 8th grade. You wore your mother's perfume and it was too strong and made him sneeze. I did remember that. You're afraid of butterflies, because when you were 4, one landed on your face, and you thought it was going to eat your eyes. Only I knew that. I'd never told anyone. I'm not some stranger who's been watching you," she continued. "I'm you, the you that existed before the accident fractured your mind. I've been trying to help you, but you keep fighting me. If you're really me, then why are you separate? Why can't I remember the things you do?" Because the conscious mind can't handle the truth. Every time you start to remember, you panic. The stress triggers another episode, and I have to take over to calm things down. It's a cycle. Dr. Voss is trying to help, but she doesn't understand what's really happening. She thinks the lorazepam is treating anxiety, but it's actually suppressing the conscious mind enough to let me function. Without it, you'd be in a constant state of panic. I felt dizzy. Nothing made sense, but everything she said felt true in a way I couldn't explain. "What do you want from me?" "I want us to be whole again. I want to stop living in the crawl space and sneaking around. I want to integrate our memories, our consciousness. But that can only happen if you stop fighting me." "How?" "Let me show you something." She led me to the kitchen and opened a drawer I rarely used. Inside was a journal I'd never seen before, bound in brown leather. I've been keeping a complete record of our life since the accident. Everything you can't remember. I opened it. The first entry was dated 3 months ago. Woke up in the hospital. They said I'd been unconscious for 4 days. Carbon monoxide poisoning. I remember going to bed Tuesday night and nothing after that until now. The doctors are concerned about memory issues. I'm scared. Page after page documented a life I couldn't recall. Hospital visits, conversations with Dr. Voss, the discovery of the memory problems, the decision to try managing the condition at home. But more than that, it showed the gradual split between the conscious and unconscious mind. I did things today that I don't remember. Cleaned the house, bought groceries, even had a conversation with the neighbor about her cat. But I have no memory of any of it. It's like someone else is living my life. The episodes are getting longer. Yesterday, I lost 6 hours. I found notes I'd apparently written to myself, but I don't remember writing them. The handwriting is mine, but the thoughts don't feel like mine. I think I'm going crazy. Or maybe I already am. The entries became more detailed, more analytical. The voice in the journal started referring to the conscious self in the third person. She's fighting the episodes now, getting scared when she realizes she's lost time. The fear is making everything worse. I need to find a way to communicate with her without triggering panic. Left a note about the pills. She needs to understand that the medication is helping, not hurting. But she's suspicious of everything now. She found my hiding place. I knew this day would come. Time to have the conversation I've been dreading. The final entry was dated today. If she's reading this, it means she's ready to know the truth. I hope she can accept what we've become. I hope we can find a way to be whole again. I closed the journal, my hands trembling. This is all real? Every word. The carbon monoxide leak? Happened while you were sleeping. You're lucky to be alive at all. And Dr. Voss is doing her best to help with an impossible situation. Brain injuries like this are rare. The fact that we're both functional is a miracle. I sank into a kitchen chair. What happens now? That's up to you. We can keep living this way. You confused and scared, me hiding in the shadows. Or we can try to integrate, combine our memories, our consciousness, become one person again. Is that possible? I don't know, but Dr. Voss thinks it might be. She's been researching similar cases. There are techniques, therapies that might help. What if it doesn't work? Then we keep trying. Or we find a way to coexist more peacefully. Maybe I don't have to hide anymore. Maybe you can learn to trust me. I looked at her, at myself, and saw the exhaustion in her eyes. The loneliness of living in the shadows, taking care of someone who couldn't even remember her existence. I'm sorry, I said, for fighting you, for being scared. You don't need to apologize. I'm scared too. This isn't what either of us wanted. We sat in silence for a moment. Two versions of the same person trying to figure out how to live in one body. Can I ask you something? I said finally. Of course. When you're in control, do you feel like me? Like you're Sarah Thompson, 34 years old, divorced, working at Patterson and Associates? I feel like I'm the real Sarah Thompson, the one who remembers our childhood, our marriage, our dreams. You feel like a fragment to me. A confused, frightened fragment. And I feel like you're the fragment, like you're some kind of intruder. Which one of us is right? Maybe we both are. Maybe we're both fragments of who I used to be. She smiled, and for the first time, it didn't look like a distorted reflection. It looked like understanding. So what do? We start with the truth. No more hiding, no more notes. If you need to take over, you tell me first. If I'm getting scared or confused, you help me understand instead of letting me panic. And Dr. Voss? We tell her everything. See if she can help us figure out how to be one person again. And if we can't, then we learn to be two people in one body. We make it work. She extended her hand to me. Partners? I shook it, feeling the strange sensation of touching my own palm. Partners. As we shook hands, I felt a weird shift in my perception. For just a moment, I could see the world from her perspective, the careful planning, the loneliness, the desperate desire to protect the fragmented person I'd become. And maybe, just maybe, she could see mine. The terror of lost time, the confusion, the feeling of being trapped in a life I couldn't fully remember. I think, I said slowly, this is going to be the strangest partnership in history. Probably, she agreed. But at least we'll never be lonely. We laughed, and it sounded like harmony. Two voices that were the same voice, finally beginning to understand each other. The journey back to wholeness would be long and difficult. But for the first time since the accident, I felt like I wasn't facing it alone. I had a partner who understood me better than anyone else possibly could. After all, she was me.